So I took one test from one Sigma X mock test from e-GMAT,
Hmm.
and I thought that I would fairly do well, and I mean, that was my miscalculation about GMAT. And I attempted that test and I saw 575, so I was very shocked and surprised at that point of time. But then I thought that this is just the beginning and I have to work on this. And I got to understand that where I stand and where I have to go from here. Um, in the e-GMAT course, there's a section called the Master Comprehension section. That's a game changer section, I would say.
Hmm.
That section builds your verbal ability and it helps you to polish it to a lot of extent.
Right.
Because I was able to pause at the right moments, pause at the right times, and look back at the text and see what is happening and what I need to extract from the text.
Hello, everyone. A very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to another debrief session with e-GMAT. Today, we have with us Akshat, who has improved by a massive, massive 120 points and reached his target goal of 695. So, welcome, Akshat, and a huge congratulations on your score.
Thanks, Abba. Thank you so much.
So, Akshat, while we discuss your journey, I think it's very crucial to understand that you started with a 575, and at this point, you are at a 695. It hasn't been a very linear curve for you. There were instances, there were one, two odd attempts before this attempt, and then finally, it has been done. Right. So,
Yeah.
why don't you walk us through on the beginning of your GMAT prep? How did it all start? And what was your first reaction when you saw that first mock of 575? And then we'll take it forward from there.
Yeah, so I began my journey last year around in January 2024.
Hmm.
So at that time, I'm from an engineering background and again from a tier one college in India. So I had an assumption that I have good quants and good data skills. So I took one test from one Sigma X mock test from e-GMAT,
Hmm.
and I thought that I would fairly do well. And I under I mean that was my miscalculation about GMAT. And I attempted that test and I saw 575, so I was very shocked and surprised at that point of time. But then I thought that this is just the beginning and I have to work on this. And I got to understand that where I stand and where I have to go from here.
Right.
So I started preparing for the exam. I took a couple of odd months and 4 5 months to prepare through OGs and
Hmm.
review books and previous review books and all. And then I attempted one mock from the official mocks,
Hmm.
the first mock, and I scored a 605. So that was again very surprising because I just had a 25 points odd improvement. And
Hmm.
I thought, I mean, by that time I knew that I had to take a coaching and I was actively searching for coachings. But even before that, I just thought that I want to put myself to a certain level so that I don't have to work very hard with the coaching. And even if I do, I just improve from where I am at that point of time.
Right.
Um, and by September last year, I was able to push it to 645.
Hmm.
But then I knew that if I have to go from here to the target that I was targeting, so my target was 98 percentile, it would be a 695 or 705 is what I had in my mind.
Right.
So I knew that I needed coaching and I needed guidance on that and I needed hand holding because I was very irregular with my studies. I used to miss on a lot of days and I would not sit for quite a lot of hours.
Hmm.
And then since I had taken Sigma X mocks and I had also taken a couple of mocks after that official mocks, I knew that Sigma X mocks pushes you to a certain level, even beyond the official mocks, and that was my one basic classifier for choosing e-GMAT.
Right.
And I had no doubt about choosing e-GMAT by that time, so I just went ahead with it. I contacted e-GMAT, and the team got back to me very quickly, and I was enrolled into the 2 month focus program by then, and then I ended up meeting you as well.
Yeah.
Um, so one thing that e-GMAT taught me was on the so when I talk about the structure of e-GMAT and how it helped me, there was a lot of help that I got on the verbal part of the things. My quant was pretty solid, but verbal I needed a lot of attention on, and that was impacting my data insights as well. So I was not I was doing decent on verbal and bad on data insights, and that improved drastically after I covered the two months course. And I remember that by the time I had covered that course, I was scoring more north of 705 in the official mocks as well.
Hmm.
So I was very confident that I will end up with a good score.
Right.
But then I went to give my first attempt in January. And that was also the time when ISB was running its last deadline. So I had a little bit of pressure, but I was confident that I'll pull it off.
Right.
But when I came out of the exam center or the test center, I saw a score of 625, and I
Hmm.
was really, really surprised and shocked to shell shocked. So,
Right.
but then I realized what happened during the test and what went wrong, and I got to know that it was in my strategies that were not working very well for me.
Hmm.
And I discussed that with you in detail, and you did guide me. And when I took the other attempt in April, it helped me to get a 30-point boost. So
Right.
then I moved to 655, but then I also told you that I was not satisfied with the score as well, and I
Yes.
wanted to move past it.
Right.
And actually, you also thought that I would also be in a good range of 685 plus, but that didn't happen.
Right.
So I just told you that I am not satisfied with this score, and I'll take another attempt. And then finally, with the 695, that happened in May. So
Yes.
that was the entire journey. And what in e-GMAT, what helped me the most was the verbal courses, the smart sheet tracking that you provide.
Hmm.
That was very crucial and essential because it helped me build my momentum and helped me build my sitting capacity as well.
Hmm.
So I was not able to sit for even 30 minutes when I started with the preparation, and now I look back and I see that I am able to solve 655 plus questions, and I am able to sit for more than 2 hours at a stretch. So
Right.
that has really changed, and I think I'll keep up with this habit now.
Yes, yes, yes. Now, taking a step back, Akshat, I was looking into your stats, right? In verbal, it's been a significant improvement, right? So, what were the key skills that you developed along the way that changed things for you in verbal?
So in the e-GMAT course, there's a section called the Master Comprehension section. That's a game changer section, I would say.
Hmm.
That section builds your verbal ability, and it helps you to polish it to a lot of extent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Once you are done with that, you just move to pre-thinking. And that pre-thinking section is another game changer, is what I would say. I mean, I cannot reveal a lot of things because it's better when you go through that course and you go through that process and then you learn pre-thinking. That helps you a lot. So I would say that these two things are something that have helped me in verbal as well as in DI.
Right.
Because I was able to pause at the right moments, pause at the right times, and look back at the text and see what is happening and what I need to extract from the text.
Hmm.
And that's what has changed in my strategy. I've basically, before taking the course, I was just skimming through the text, and
Right.
after taking that course, I was able to deep dive into each word, each line, each sentence, and get the meaning out of it. So that has really helped.
Yeah. Here I have a question. A lot of people, you tend to skim through because you want to read fast. Okay. But now you just now mentioned that later on things changed for you and you started focusing on each and every word. But I want you to share that did that really impact your timing? Because that's what is, most of the students are scared about. And that's why they rush through. Right. So I know your timing was really good. And you right now said that you were able to focus on each and every word as well. So how did that work out for you?
Yeah, so basically, in the very beginning, when I started with pre-thinking, it did impact my timing. And
Mm.
it happened when I was working with the application files that e-GMAT provides. So that was basically, I was trying to construct what pre-thinking is. And basically, I was trying to construct my framework through pre-thinking and how I would attempt the questions.
Mm.
So that in each initial phases, I would say that I decently took 5 to 6 minutes per question in the applications files themselves. But when I was used to the kind of process that pre-thinking teacher taught me, I was able to solve the even hard questions within 2 to 2.5 minutes, which is I think which is very good when
Yep.
we are talking about CR.
Yes.
So it really helped in once I was done with pre-thinking process.
Right. Right. And what about RC? What were the key skills that you started developing in RC or the changes that you saw along the way?
So in RC, the key thing that I developed was the map that I used to make. So when I was working again with the application files, I would write down each passage. I would write down a summary of each passage, one
Mm-hmm.
word line, one sentence, and then I would combine them and make a whole primary purpose of that passage. Now, once I was very comfortable with this, and I do remember in the exam, I was able to do it in my mind, and it was very fast for me.
Hmm.
I would read these RCs in under 3 minutes,
Hmm.
and I would be able to solve even 700 plus level questions with these.
Hmm.
So in the first question, it would take me around 3 minutes to solve or to understand the RC, and then I would move to the next questions, and it would take me less than a minute to get to the answers.
Hmm.
So that really helped. That mapping part of the RC that was taught, that really helped me.
Right. Now, Akshat, you have been preparing for some time now, right? And having given two attempts before and this one attempt, how did you keep track of your mistakes? And how did you make sure that, you are not repeating the same mistakes again and growing from your previous quiz attempts or mocks to mocks?
So yeah, I would like to talk a lot about that. Basically, e-GMAT also provides you with error logs, and those error logs are different for each type of section, and even within RC and CR, it is different. The format is different,
Mm.
and that really helps because that helps you to track where you are missing on concepts, where you are missing on timing, and where you can optimize it better.
Mm.
I think that that is also very important, and that has helped me a lot.
Mm.
So in my first attempt, I did maintain an error log. I maintained an error log from the scholarium quizzes and everything, but I remember I did not practice it before the exam, and
Mm.
that kind of costed me that attempt. So I realized that I would want to move past this and I want to do everything. I want to solve all questions in my error log basically. So in my next attempt, I took those error logs, all the questions that I had marked, all the mocks that I had attempted. I put links of each questions corresponding to each row and the a text of the question of what it's saying and what's the optimal timing that should be there and why
Mm.
did I get it wrong.
Right.
And that why actually helped me find a pattern in the type of mistakes that I was making constantly.
Right.
And that's something e-GMAT teaches you as well, how to find that why and how to solve for it.
Mm.
So that why was the key error that I was able to find across attempts,
Right.
in even in CR, even in RC. And I specifically remember that in strengthen or weaken type of questions, that why was very common. I was able to find answer to. I was able to narrow down to two option choices, but I was not able to mark the correct answer because I was thinking in the opposite direction. And that why factor is something that helped me understand. Okay, that is how can I can solve
Yeah.
these questions.
Yes, I think it's a very crucial point that you brought up right now. That, when you're filling in the error log, it is not just about filling in the details that this went wrong and this happened. Investigating further. Why did it happen? If you're faltered in answer choice analysis, what did you miss out? Was it a particular word, or you did not read every answer choice properly, did not logically eliminate? I think that depth of that why that you mentioned helped you also a lot, like you said. Right.
Definitely.
Moving to DI, because you said that, a lot of skills in verbal transitioned in DI also. And in DI too, you had a massive jump when we talk about improvement, presently at a DI 82, right? So, what was the biggest challenge in DI as a subsection or a question type that you had, and how did you go about overcoming that?
Yeah, so I'm from an analytics background, but my DI was weak,
Mm-hmm.
and that does not have to do with analytics much.
Yeah.
It has to do with the language part of DI. DI tests test taker on both quants as well as language,
Mm-hmm.
so that is why it becomes challenging. Now, wo- there are different type of questions that are present in DI like MSR, TPA, and graphs and tables. And what I realized was my graphs and tables was very weak, and that happened when whenever there was a dense table, I would get nervous and I was not able to read through it, and I was not able to understand what's happening and how can it be optimized or how can I solve it in a specific time frame. So when I went through the course and when I went through the sections, each question sections, I was able to understand what has to be done and how I can how I can skim at the right time and read at the right time and move to the table at the right time to
Mm-hmm.
understand what's happening and solve it within a specific time frame.
Mm-hmm.
And even in case of two-part analysis as well, so I would solve it in a very clumsy manner. I wouldn't. It was not a very clear approach. But then I learned how to solve it, how to attempt the first part first and keep that separate from the second part and solve it separately wherever required, or where to solve it in one go.
Mm-hmm.
So that really helped.
Right, right. And since you started with a slightly modest score in verbal and DI, you followed almost the stage one, stage two approach. Now, stage two, what we refer to as the cementing, is more to do with focused practice. Right. And you have done cementing to a large extent, utilized a good set of questions on the Scholarinium as well. So, how did the cementing stage create an impact on your prep?
Yeah, cementing really helped because once I was done with the application files, I would move to cementing quizzes and I would identify that there are still gaps in my learning.
Mm,
And then I would be surprised because I would miss some questions that I thought I was able to really solve in a stipulated time, but I would find that those are incorrect.
mhm,
So again, I would deep dive into the why of the questions, of why did I get it wrong, why it was not, it was this answer and not that answer. And then I would go back to the application files as well as the videos that were
mm,
given.
right.
And I would go through those videos again and understand, okay, this is where I missed and this is where I could have improved.
Mm,
So that where cementing really helped me. And
right.
I remember that in the smart sheets, we always had a target to, for the score that I was targeting, it was a target to have a 70% plus accuracy throughout,
Yeah.
at least.
In hard accuracies, we were in,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah. So that really pushed me
Mm,
because I was able to see that marker of 70%. I would say that I want to achieve this. Otherwise, I'm not moving forward.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, talking about the test readiness and mock phase, Akshat, I know that, this is the final phase and it holds its own value on what are the steps that you do with respect to the mocks, how many mocks do you take, how many sectionals do you take, right? So, why don't you walk us through what are the steps that you took in your final phase of prep to the exam test date?
Okay. So I will talk about all the three attempts.
Mm,
In my first attempt, my strategy was not very good on the final days. And what I felt is that I had not exhausted all of the resources that I had by then. So I was still solving problems. I was still working on my skills, and it was not built enough.
mm,
That is something that I worked upon to a large extent during my second attempt.
right.
And what I would recommend test takers is that 2 weeks before the test, you should be done with your preparations more or less, and you should just be attempting the sectionals as well as the mocks,
Mm,
maybe mocks in alternate days and sectionals on a daily basis. And that will really, and you should try to attempt it in the duration when your test is about to happen,
mm,
whatever time of the day it's about to happen. So that will really uh, make pace for you and make you groove on the test times.
mm,
And what I missed on the first attempt as well is that I did not stimulate enough my strategy. So basically, my center was far from here, and there I live in Bangalore, so there's a lot of traffic in between. Now that costed me dearly in my first two attempts. I was pretty late or a little late during those attempts, and that made a huge difference in my mindset. I
mm,
was a little anxious. I was not confident, and by the time I reached center, I also realized that I was tired as well, mentally tired because of the traffic again.
mm,
So what I did is I started taking Red Bull in the third attempt, and I started preparing myself accordingly, even in my preparation phase when I was attempting mocks.
right.
And that really boosted my energy during the first two sections. So I used to attempt the first two sections, then move to the third section.
Mm,
And in between, I would take an optional break. So
right.
even in the optional break, I would have energy bars, as you had suggested to take. And that really helped. I would take energy bar, wash it down with water, and then just move to the third section.
Mm,
And I did see significant improvement during my third attempt as well. I was scoring somewhere around 735, and even to the north of seven. I mean, to the north of 715 was very common. But what happens is that what getting is not getting carried with you to the test environment. So there could be a difference in the score,
mm,
and as well as I felt that the paper or the test center paper that I was attempting was a little bit harder than the mocks that official mocks that I was giving, and that was because there were two MSRs back to back that were coming, which was not on the official mocks. So definitely there is no certainty on the type of paper that will come to your screen
mm.
in the GMAT, and that's what makes it a little difficult.
Right, right. Now, How many mocks did you take? And before the mocks, I wanted to know and I wanted you to share because, mindset, test taking skills, and how you approach the test. These are very crucial factors. And, while you can build your ability, that is something that you can work upon. It is always a combination of mindset and ability that can help one get to the target score. And in your second attempt, and even in your first attempt to a little extent, there was a set of panic, or, you were not in the right frame of mind. Whereas in your third attempt, in your final attempt, you said you were just at it. You just, you were like, okay, I'm prepared. I'm going to do this. Right. So why don't you give us, a little bit insights on how did that mindset shift happen? And how did you get to that level where you were like, I have to do this and I've done everything now?
Yeah. So by the third attempt, I had realized that even I had a certain level of ability, and I was see it through the mocks.
Mm,
I felt there was a gap when I was solving very hard GMAT lab questions.
mhm,
So I felt that that bridge was something that I had to cross. So I set targets for myself based on what Smart Sheets had told me, 70% plus accuracy on hard questions. I just pushed it to 80%,
mm,
80% and above accuracy for hard questions. And that was one thing that made me prepare for even very hard questions on GMAT. The second thing is that I started meditating before the test whenever and on a daily basis. I would do a 20 to 30 minute session of meditation, a guided meditation session from the art of living. And that really changed a lot of things for me because I was very much more focused and I was very much more clear on my thoughts on how I'm going to proceed with the test.
right.
The third thing is that I went off social media for more than 1 month straight because I was constantly distracted by it, and I just wanted to be done with this test. I told myself that I can go back to Instagram and Snapchat whenever I can, but this if I take this attempt once more or if I go with this exam once more, then I mean it's going to cost me my mental peace.
Mm,
So these three were the key differentiators in my mindset
right.
before and after the third attempt.
Yeah.
So once you get that groove of the 80% plus accuracy, I mean, you are able to lock into a certain mind space that really puts you apart from a lot of test takers. I mean, you are able to tap into your own energy and you are able to move with the questions very easily, is what I
Mm,
feel. But
right.
that happens only with practice and with the right approach and the right strategies. And that has come only from EGMAT to me, is what I feel.
Right, right. And we are glad that, we could contribute to your prep. I know it's a long driven prep, but finally, once the result is done, it's done. Right. Uh, One section that, I wanted to discuss was also about your quant. Now, in your quant, you already started with a decent ability. When compared to your verbal and DI, you were already at a 71 percentile from the start. It could also be because of your background. You had a foundation to a good extent, right?
Yeah.
How do you go from a decent score like yours to at this point a Q86? So were there some concepts that you had to go through, or were there process skills that you developed along the way that made this transition possible for you then?
Right. So in quant, I would say it was more about the process part of the things that was very, very much missing in my attempts. And I deeply remember very clearly that my approach towards quant section was not very good.
Mm,
So I would give sectionals and I would run out of time when I was giving e-GMAT sectionals specifically because they test you on hard quant questions, and that is very, very much required because I mean, after a certain ability, easy quant questions are not that difficult. But when it comes to hard quant questions, you will take a lot of time. You might end up taking 4 to 5 minutes per question,
mm,
and that is where e-GMAT comes into picture and helps you a lot. So what happens is that when you are attempting the paper, if you are getting 4 to 5 correct questions in the starting, then the paper will start increasing its level. It will test you accordingly on how you are proceeding. And that way, if you are getting up till 20th or 21st question and you have two, three wrong answers, then you might end up with a Q86 or a Q88. But
right.
if you start with the section and you attempt two, three questions incorrectly in the beginning itself, then your ability won't be reflected as such. And that is something that came after giving a lot of sectionals and understanding how the paper is identifying my abilities. Um, And so where e-GMAT helped me is in the process for hard questions as well. I was able to learn a lot of strategies for a lot of type of questions, and specifically in probability and combinatorics type of questions, which are edge cases, but are very much relevant when it comes to hard questions.
Mhm.
Because they really get to the nerves, and you are not able to understand what's next, what's coming next.
Right.
And those processes are something that I have learned during my time with e-GMAT.
Right. Now, if I have to ask you, what was that one thing that you really enjoyed or cherished on the platform? That one feature that you really, enjoyed a lot using?
Sigma Xmox.
Mm.
Definitely, because the insights that were given to me through Sigma Xmox, I mean, like they are very invaluable, and I was able to push my score to a lot of extent because of the mocks only.
Right.
Uh, the questions that are present in Sigma Xmox are something that are very unique to the platform and to the test itself.
Mm.
And the way they test you is, I mean, it's really invaluable. Again, as I'd say.
Yeah. Right.
And
And
the second thing would be the error logs, definitely.
yes, yes, yes. And I think error logs you have detailed out really nicely in our conversation as well. So, actually, my last question to you would be that if you have to give any tips or suggestions to GMAT test takers who are still preparing, still on their journey, so what would be those key insights that you have learned along the way?
Yeah, definitely. So, one thing I learned is that first you should try to estimate your own potential. I mean, you will be able to push it to some extent, but if you are stuck, if you are plateaued, you should definitely invest in a good coaching, and I cannot recommend e-GMAT enough. The
Mm.
first thing is that. The second thing would be to leverage AI tools like ChatGPT or even any other tools to get insights on in your attempts and the questions, the type of questions that you are targeting and are constantly you are getting them incorrect. You should try to use such platforms to analyze your potential and analyze the attempts that you have made.
Right.
And the third thing would be to keep on to your nerves when you are preparing and even during the exam, and not to get too anxious, and to meditate constantly and regularly. That will really create a difference. That is what I would say.
Yes, and I think very well summarized because at the end, while you work on your ability, practicing, learning concepts, this is something that I also agree. You have to be in the right mindset, right mind space to crack that test. With that panic, that anxiety, things can get tough. And I think over the period of time, over the mock sectionals, you were also able to work it through and get to your dream score. Right? So on that note, Akshat, I just want to thank you for taking out the time today. And I wish you all the best for your next steps and do stay in touch.
Thanks, Ava. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to share my journey. Thank you so much.